We should be.
Can everyone please turn on their mics?
I refuse.
Start early?
No.
I'm late, but I'm still
Early, you're early.
Everybody
No,
else
you're
is super
super
early. Well, we're there at a lot of us and stuff. No,
You need to fix
Like
that
we
clock
just
up.
seen each
It's
other.
2 minutes. It's 2 minutes.
right.
It's both of you, Johnny.
Okay, all these engineers and techie people, surely somebody can
Fix
figure
the
out
clock.
how to fix that clock.
It's supposed to be, it's supposed to think by itself, but yes, it does not.
Well, you don't have to do it right now, but you know, it's sort of funny. Here we are, sitting here with a digital clock that
Looks
isn't
fancy,
accurate,
fancy.
looks fancy.
Jake, just to confirm, we're doing the next ad hoc at 11 o'clock on the 23rd.
Hello.
What?
Next one.
I didn't know. Yes,
April 9th.
We didn't, that's what I'm trying to
Oh,
clarify.
yeah, I had to. You just
Let's
Oh,
keep
that
it the same day of the board meeting, if we can.
Okay, I mean, if everybody's fine with that, well, we can, yeah,
What?
Works pretty good.
Wait,
Yeah, that
wait a
works
minute,
well
wait.
today.
the ad hoc, having the ad hoc. Right.
We come here very,
The highlights
When?
are.
April?
Oh, yeah.
In
Or
time,
May?
the property is very uncertain.
I may not be able to do that.
Yes.
Some of the
No,
feedback
you're not on Lewis
that
anyway.
was the strongest.
Aiden, I.
My calendar's
Some
fine.
other
I can
agents
do that.
here in the
Yeah.
region.
Close.
Co-locate space, if we're gonna do something, there's a lot of other smaller governments.
Okay.
Yeah, like,
What day are we talking about?
Some revenue streams.
26 there.
The 20th.
23rd.
That's something I
Of
haven't
April.
looked at
Just-
before and
We
The
did
board
that.
meeting I have is 11.
lines. but
No, that's
Yeah.
that.
Options.
Right,
before we
right.
keep things
We're
more in
just
our
clarifying
control.
the date.
Yeah.
Michael, you're in six.
Jake, we talked about ad hoc meeting.
Yeah,
So.
I can tell you that on Tuesday, the 23rd, I am out here morning. I have a
No worries.
medical thing.
oh, okay. So
If
we'll,
that makes any difference, you can obviously meet without me, it's fine.
we'd like to have everybody there.
Yeah.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
How does the following day work?
What about the 16th? Too soon, Jake?
Probably too
soon.
soon. It might be too soon.
How about the 30th?
I thought the ad hoc was on April
That
9th.
works.
Are you ready? Is Tuesday the magic for you?
Tuesday or Thursday night.
Have your biorhythms performed in a superior way on Tuesday? Is that what it is?
I could do Tuesday, I could do the 30th.
Okay.
That sounds good to me too.
I wonder if Patty can do it.
Yes.
Patty, can you do the 30th?
Yes.
We're talking about ad hoc, yeah.
You should
Oh, the
hear it.
buildings. Oh, I thought it was the other side.
Patty, can you do the 30th?
Yes,
Yes. So it is good.
Okay.
okay,
We have a deal?
Tracy.
good deal.
Do it at 11?
Yeah,
April 30th, 1 o'clock?
11. Oh, I don't
11,
care.
sorry, 11?
11 fine.
11?
Hi.
Okay.
11 or 1?
11?
11's okay. then.
Jake, 11?
Yeah.
That's. That's a good.
Full minute to spare.
Unless we go by my clock, which I think it's 3.
There we go.
We have to check everyone's phone. You know, have compromise and just.
It's 12:59.
If you want to remove all the,
You want to take it home? Thanks.
Call to order the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for March 26th, 2024. Roll call, please.
President Hamilton,
Here.
Vice President Johnson,
Present.
Director Matt,
Here.
Director Townsend Smith,
Here.
Director Dale.
Here.
Director Horn, thank you.
Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda?
I'd actually like to make one suggestion, and we left it off the agenda here. Alfred, you can smack me if I get out of line here. Our employee recognitions. And we have an employee here today that is recognized, and we left it off the agenda erroneously. So could I add that? Probably,
Six-
after
6A,
6A, yes.
any objections?
No.
Any other additions or amendments?
No additions.
Do we have approval of the agenda? A motion to approve?
Also moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. Now is the time for public comment. Do we have any requests at this time?
I've received none. However, if I may remind those that are joining us virtually, if you're joining us via Zoom, please use the webinar controls to raise your hand at any point throughout the meeting to request to speak. Also, if you're joining us by telephone, please dial *6 to unmute yourself after calling *9 to alert us that you'd like to speak and be notified you have an opportunity to speak, and please keep your comments at 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Therese. Employee recognition.
Employee recognition. So today, my honor, to recognize Mr. Dennis Mendez. As you know, we have a coin program, and Mr. Mendez has got all 5 of his coins.
Wow.
He's the innovation coin, and really been with us, how long? Just
I'm going on 5 years.
Oh, yeah, just-
April.
1 year, not bad.
yeah. So to actually, have his peers kind of recognize him in 5 different categories in just a short period of time.
Pretty good.
Yeah, really huge accomplishment, and I think shows, obviously dedication to the district and its mission, and I certainly am super appreciative of those things, and I know Robert and Issa, a lot of respect for Dennis and the work he does, and really great group out there. I've witnessed the work that they do, and it's difficult and very impressive. I've seen a lot of construction in my 20+ years, and this group does it as good as anybody. So anyways, come on up. I'll give you the plaque. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hang on, get a picture.
Okay. Here we go. Oh,
Oh, shake it.
I missed Thank you.
all right. Congratulations. Thank you.
Committee meetings and summaries. Budget and Finance Committee and Engineering Operations Committee. Flint tells me he has nothing to add. The board met in a special session with these 2 committees last week. And rather than go through and repeat everything that we all heard, I'll just say that for the public, you can see the minutes of that meeting. Communication and Customer Service Committee.
The Communications Committee, Customer Service and Communications Committee met on March 7th. We reviewed the changes to the customer service surveys. The new survey will be launched in April in preparation for the Avocado Festival. which last year was where we got the most responses versus all the other channels that we try to get responses to. So we're establishing a consistent metric for the survey scale from 1 to 5 so that it's very easy to track year over year changes in the survey responses. We also, we didn't really have much of an update for the strategic communications plan other than it's still in progress. Staff is reviewing all the information from the workshop that took place and is creating the objectives and action items. So there'll be more to that in future meetings. There were a couple of items that were sort of low-hanging fruit that we discussed in relation to things that came up during that workshop. One of which was adding a translation of our website. So after the communications committee meeting, Ahmed, the very next day was able to add the Google Translate plugin to the website. So now someone viewing it can view it in almost, any language of their choice. So that's a great addition for those people in our district who may need to view it in a different language. We also added crop swap information and a guide to understand your water bill to the website. The committee reviewed potential nominations for CSDA awards in the categories of Project of the Year, Public Outreach. So research by staff is underway. We'll be preparing some potential nominations for the board to consider probably at the April board meeting. The due date is May 1st. So that's the timeline for that. We're also preparing, and we gave an update on the Avocado Festival. They reviewed sort of the promotional swag items that we give away. We're focusing on smaller in size and budget items for their giveaways this year because we had trouble even physically transporting the larger items to have enough so that we wouldn't run out by the end of the day. So we got great feedback on that. We're also looking for volunteers if any board members would like to work a shift. Often we'll have board members work alongside a staff member at the Avocado Festival, so you have a chance to meet people and answer questions. So please see me or Amanda if you would like to do that. The Bonsall High School STEM field trip is scheduled for April 25th. That's the same week as the Avocado Festival. And we'll be using the funds from our $3,000 grant that we got from Metropolitan for some really cool educational supplies for those students. And we also had a last call for our poster contest for the North County Water Agency's deadline is April 1st for that. And the newsletter featured this month a highlight of the crop swap program and that's going to be open for application soon, a detachment update, an understanding your water bill feature, and a reminder to update contact information. That also is something that came out of the workshop of that. We struggle sometimes with people not getting informed of shutoffs, and it's because we don't have the correct contact information. Also information about the tree rebate program and the water awareness booster contest last call. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, I'd like to add my thanks to Ahmed. I was the one that asked for the foreign language translation and he added it to the website instantaneously. I'm not certain how many Bengalis or Iwis we have in the district, but we're prepared to serve.
It's awesome.
And then on the Avocado Festival, having worked those in the past, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for board and executive staff to get out and meet ratepayers. So that's April 21st, Sunday.
What time?
All day.
Yeah,
You volunteer
the
for 2 hour
festival is
shifts.
from like 9
9
to
to
4,
4.
and we usually do 2-hour shifts. Right now, we have lots of volunteers for the morning shifts and not so many for the afternoon shifts, so that's really a need that we're looking to fill.
Did we decide anything on the Fall Car show or not?
So what we discovered was that the day, we did discuss it at the committee, and we discovered that it's one of those events that sells out within like 24 hours after they open it. So by the time we replied, they were no longer, it was full.
Okay.
It was full. Yeah.
That one's also we discussed as marginal because it brings people in a lot of people in from outside the area into the area. Avocado Festival does the same, but there's a lot more local population that participates. So.
And there's a clear connection between water service and growing avocados as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
I see Director Johnson and Director Mack both have their hands raised, so.
I just would like to commend you and your team on the newsletter. The detachment article I felt was very clear and concise, so it would be understandable for our ratepayers, so thank you.
Okay. I think Jake drafted that one.
Well, nice job.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Director Mack?
Question for you, the CSDA puts on a yearly thing. And I believe, is that information about, it's usually a video that a high schooler would make. And it's
The Districts Make the Difference video contest.
does Fallbrook or Bonzo, do they ever?
We have promoted it in the past. I don't know that we've ever successfully gotten entries, but we will promote it again.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. All right, thank you.
Consent calendar, is there a motion to approve or make any changes to the February 27th board meeting minutes?
5 minutes to accept the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Dale. All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Action items. Consider approval for change order number 3 with the Harris and Associates Incorporated to provide CFD and SCIP auditing services.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you. So this was first done in 2021 with Harrison Associates. Before that, staff was doing it. It was primarily Delia Rubio and myself. And when we get these invoices for reimbursement from the developers that are participating in the CFDs or the SCIPs, it is extraordinarily time consuming. And Delia and I were finding that as soon as we were finishing one, the second invoice was coming in and it was just on top of us. I was just venting one day to a consultant and they said, we do this. We do this for cities and water agencies all the time, and we've been working with them. This is similar to the associate engineer position where this is 100% billed out to the developer that Harrison Associates is working on. So this is not hitting our operating budget. They've been extremely effective. Their contract was set to expire in the coming months. And it was unique that the agreement was only for the Citro development. But we now have the Bonzel Oaks, which has entered into a SCIP. And then when Ocean Breeze Ranch sells, they are forming their own CFD as well. So we wanted to change that so that this consultant can work on any CFD or SCIP throughout the district to help us out, extend the contract, and provide some more money into that agreement. With that, staff is asking for option number 1 to approve this change order. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. Yes.
Just to clarify, there is no cost to the district.
Correct. It does not hit our operating budget.
All right,
So
thank
for
you.
right now, they've been working on Citro. And so when we get their invoice, it's charged to the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
I had some questions too. Typically, how long do we contract for? It looks like this was originally a 3-year. Is that typical?
Typically, it is between 1 and 3 years.
Okay, and then are we at a critical juncture where it's going to impact your work if we don't approve the contract?
They're still under contract for a couple of months, but yes, the work that they are doing would fall back onto staff because we are actively working with both Citro and Bonzel Oaks.
So the reason I ask is that the original amount is like $47,000 and we're 44,000. We're being asked to do a change order, which is well in excess of that original amount. And I'm wondering if it makes sense to do an RFP.
Go out for an
If it
RFP.
doesn't impact you, falling on staff to do the work. And in the meantime, it just, with it being 3 years plus the original amount being so small. Just wondered.
I just heard that those costs are passed on to the developer, so it doesn't actually impact us.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's more of a contracting thing when the original amount's 44.45, but now we're being asked to approve something that's well in excess of that original amount. I wonder, I couldn't find
Are there
anything in the
alternatives?
admin code about whether under these circumstances you would go back out for RFPs.
Yeah,
To me,
Yeah.
it has a couple things with the time period and just the change order amount.
Yeah, the first contract agreement was for 44,000, a little over 44,000. Change order number one was a no cost, it just extended the agreement. Change order two was for 25,000, and now we're asking for this and extending the agreement an additional 2 years.
And you're adding, going from 1 to 3, development.
Correct.
So we're increasing their work.
Yes, yes. And nothing's happening on Ocean Breeze Ranch yet.
Yeah.
We're having some preliminary meetings with them, but when that goes, it will. We are actively working on Boswell Oaks and Citro.
Yeah, that one, I mean, that one's got some pretty significant action just in the next couple of months, right?
Correct.
Where they're actually going to get the financing and bring
Boswell
that
Oaks,
in.
yes.
So, I mean, if there was a concern, I understand that that's a
Is the
pretty,
extension for 3 or 1 year?
2,
For
2 years.
extending For 2, okay.
yeah.
basically 100,000.
Yeah, I think, I mean, at a minimum, keeping them on board just because of the familiarity for the next project. I mean, that's kind of critical, I think, in the next few months. If we did want to do, see if there's somebody else that would be interested in doing the work and proposing on something, we could look into that. If we wanted to do something smaller, because that's a large, 100,000, it's a fair, I mean, it's gonna be over several years, so I don't know what their burn rate is. It's 20,
It's a little over, it's a
25,000.
little over 40 per year. so
Yeah.
far.
So, but I understand, and that's why it's in front of the board, because once it
Yeah.
crosses that threshold, obviously it requires a board approval. But we could, look at potentially maybe a smaller extension and then, see if there's any competition. We may end up coming back going, hey, we have one proposal and this is it, but we
Right.
could at least dig into that. That's a fair request.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that said, oh, we're keeping our rates the same, because they are going up too. That would be another compelling reason to maybe approve the change order, but I didn't see that at all. That just concerns me doing a change order of
That's
that
nice.
magnitude.
Okay.
So do we want to,
It's to the pleasure of the board. Staff would prefer to go with option one, extend this. We could work on an RFP so that we don't come back to the board for an additional change order and have that RFP in the works. Or if the board would rather staff go back, I will double check the remaining funds and how much time we have left and see if there's time to do an RFP on that.
Does that put you in a crunch position? Because that delays it a month?
Yeah.
well, that's, I think the critical part is we probably need to extend to get them onto the Bonsall Oaks.
Yes.
And some amount of funding to cover
Cover that,
that over the next, say, 6 months.
correct.
So the question is, would that require us to come back to the board? That would be the question.
It would, because the last change order was for 25,000, so anything over that is now, it's exceeding the general manager's signing authority. So
Okay.
anything other than a no cost change has to come back before the board in any dollar amount.
Can a lower amount be approved?
As you're gonna say, can we extend for a year or whatever instead of the 2 years
Yeah.
and a lower amount?
At half the cost or something at
Yeah.
50,000.
Mhm.
Well, how about if the board would give me some time to go back and do this, we can come back to the April board meeting.
Is that okay?
We can do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's right.
Present alternatives, correct?
Absolutely.
Consider adoption of a resolution declaring the district's intention to reimburse itself from the proceeds of the tax exempt financing for certain capital facilities and equipment expenditures.
Yes, good afternoon. So this item is an administration item that's necessary essentially so we can leverage the best interest rate possible if we do a financing in relatively short order. The district, according to stems from IRS regulations, has to express an intent to finance its facilities or equipment. Either when you're issuing the debt or you can do it before that, and that's what this action does. Essentially the board saying the reasonable expectation of how much we might finance and what you're financing. And so that's what this resolution does to meet those regulations. It doesn't commit the district in any way, shape, or form to actually issuing debt or financing these particular projects, but it gives us flexibility to do that. And this comes into play essentially April, if I can make things, work right, otherwise May, intending to come back before the board for, it's looking like a $10 million financing. And you can see by the nature of the amount on this one, essentially to help get us through the detachment transition. And so, by identifying these projects, and what this does is essentially says, although the district already a couple of years ago decided to finance the 3 pump station project, the costs are well in excess of what we originally thought that would be. And so since we only originally thought around 10 million for the 3 pump station project, and we're beyond that, restating our intention here is appropriate. And then essentially covering the CIP projects for the next 2 years on the water side. So both of these actions will help replenish or ease the strain on our pretty low reserve levels, which is what I'm actively watching. And so that's the plan. And next month, you'll actually get the real debt approval item for your consideration. And this opens up the option to maximize as much as we can, hopefully all of it as tax exempt financing. And probably we're looking at a rate now about 4.7% for a 10-year financing. So with that, I'll open to questions.
So to clarify, in your statement here, it says typically range from 1% to 1.5% lower than the taxable rate.
Yes, so for instance, if we're looking at 4.7, a taxable rate might be high 5s, 6% right now. Mhm.
So.
So if we didn't do this, yeah.
It's benefiting us to go for the tax exempt. Correct?
Yes, yes.
So-
So by doing
yeah.
this, we're getting eligible for what's looking like 4.7 when it would
Right.
otherwise be 6% or
Right.
so.
Okay.
Yes.
So this was good explanation. Thank you.
So then there's a subsequent action that's occurring later?
Planned on next month to actually
Okay.
approve the debt and the terms of the debt.
This basically allows us to qualify for the reduced rate.
Yes, so part of the time sensitivity of this item is when you begin construction on a project, essentially, that starts the clock on what you can reimburse from tax exempt financing. So you can't go backwards at that point. In this case, you have a small window, 60 days, and we just started construction or are starting construction on the project. So by doing the resolution now, we get to capture all of the costs of the 3 pump station project.
Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
I so moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Dale. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Consider the appointment of an alternate member of the Communication and Customer Service Committee.
Sure. So one of our committee members has notified us that she has other obligations and won't be able to continue on the committee, which brings us down to 3 regular committee members and myself as an alternate. So staff is giving the board an opportunity to potentially appoint an additional staff member as an alternate. Since there are only 3 regular committee members, it will be difficult to maintain a quorum if I'm not available as well as one of the alternates. So it's at the board's discretion for who, if anyone, that you might like to appoint from staff, but I think the most logical choices would be someone like Amanda Weber or Josh Cruz, who both regularly already attend committee meetings.
I have a question. Was any of the candidates for Division 3 that were not selected, did any of them have an interest in serving on this volunteer committee?
Well, we've reached out. Yeah, we've reached out. I know, I mean, we had several pleas during the process itself.
Right.
But also Therese had sent out another note thanking them for their,
Right.
their interest in the position, but then also, again, kind of.
And we did something similar with the candidates for Division 1, when you were appointed as well, and they really just wanted to be board members. So, but we are going to definitely promote this at the Avocado Festival and in the newsletter. We'll have printed collateral to try to recruit regular members of our community. But in the meantime,
And I think we're gonna make one more attempt now that there is like an actual, hey, we have a vacancy
Mhm.
on a committee, we would like you to consider it. We're gonna make one more attempt with the people who are interested in
The
serving.
names we have.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so.
Also, I'm just thinking within the community, has this gone out to any organizations within our area? Where they gather to do volunteer, that possibly that's an avenue. The Bonzo Women's Club or other organizations that already are working, that maybe someone there would like to serve on this committee?
I think this was a fairly recent resignation and we haven't started,
Okay, yeah.
actively doing a recruitment outreach yet.
Yeah.
So,
No worries, I'm just disappointed that she could not continue.
yeah.
Any other discussion? I'd like to nominate Josh then for the position as the second alternate.
Second,
Nominated by motion by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Johnson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 9D, consider adoption of a resolution designating authorized agents for all matters pertaining to disaster assistance from the state of California and Federal Emergency Management Agency.
This is sort of a housekeeping item. This is a resolution that needs to be renewed every 3 years, designating specific positions to act on the district's behalf, on the board's behalf, in order to apply for grants related to disaster expense recovery, et cetera. So our last one was actually done in 2020, so we're about a year overdue. They're good for 3 years at a time.
And I can add, this also allows us to be eligible to apply for a small reimbursement that works out for our January storm response that was declared a disaster. Essentially some vendor work that we had in the hauling the wastewater flows, and the overtime is being covered at 75%. I think it's $5,000 or $6,000.
great.
Every bit helps.
I move to accept.
I second.
Moved by Director Johnson, seconded by Director Townsend Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 9E, discussion and consideration of consider the addition of compensable local organizational meeting and training and conference associations and adoption of an ordinance amending the administrative code, section 2.03.010.02, compensation.
Yeah, so this was an item, this came up at, last month's board meeting, and we had one, association, the Santa Margarita Watershed Council, that's really just no longer, they don't meet, it's dissolved. And so what we were removing that from.
Santa Margarita was,
Santa Ray, sorry, I'm in the wrong,
watershed.
I'm on the wrong side of the county line there. But brought up, hey, taking a look at some of these other organizations and do we want to add any of these other agencies to the policy? And really all the policy does is it, when those agencies are listed, or the organizations are listed, a board member attends, they don't have to, I guess there's no request needed, right? I want to attend this, it doesn't require board approval, it's kind of automatic. And so, we've always had Aqua and CSDA, those are kind of our prime, prime memberships, the ones that we attend the most and that, but we looked at some others, Director Dale had brought up a couple of agencies, and then also I proposed the Southern California Water Coalition, who's a lot of local agencies participate in. One thing I did want to clarify, and this is me still kind of learning our policies and code. We actually have another area of our administrative code that deals with membership in these different associations. So actually, like CWEA is actually already in our code that the district will cover they only do individual memberships. I think we showed that there. It's like $220 for individual membership, but basically it's, yeah, section 2.05 actually already covers that one. So I think that one, we don't really need to double cover here. It's a little odd. It's in both areas, but that's a different issue. So we looked at a few organizations, CASA, so that's a wastewater organization. I mean, they do great stuff on the legislative front, advocating for wastewater agencies. I think in the past, we don't have any treatment, so I think that's probably been, where we've stuck with the, basically we're paying Oceanside, and so Oceanside's kind of our, not that we couldn't be indirectly impacted by the regulations and things that go on there, but I think that was probably the thinking, that it's not an insignificant membership fee. And really, the big cost comes when, with the conferences, right? If we, so if you're talking, 8,000 or so, but it's, 2,500 or 3,000 if each conference. And so, so we look at that one. It is a good organization, all those things. I think that's just historically, we've kind of stuck to our main two, Aqua and CSDA, just because of the fact that we only have collection. It's a big part of what we do. I don't want to diminish that, but that's kind of been the idea. Southern California Water Coalition, that's, looking at that group, and that's something I've attended, on occasion the last few years in particular. It is a really good group. It's a low membership cost. You don't have to be a member. You can just show up they just have quarterly luncheons. They don't really have a conference, but quarterly luncheons. But a lot of our local agencies, especially in Southwest Riverside County and others too, in San Diego, do participate. So my thought was, if we did want to start participating in that, and even beyond myself, but some of the board, that maybe that's a worthwhile that you actually become a member. It's $1,000 just for a general membership. But again, that's up to the board. So I guess, those are the three main ones we looked at. We did look at CMUA as well. I took a look at that. I didn't include it here. It's got relatively high fees as well. And it's really more larger agencies. They represent both electric and water agencies. And so I kind of took that one out, and not thinking that was probably appropriate for us. Eastern's a member already, and that, so I think we kind of get our representation through that, rather than, spending additional on, membership for Rainbow itself. So, but really up to the board. There is costs associated with it. Last year we had budgeted, I think, about 30,000 in our, trainings and those kind of things. I think we're going to be about there for the year. So this would cause likely a budget increase if we were to, and again, it doesn't preclude anyone from attending any of these conferences, right? It would just require a request, and a board approval. So, anyways, I leave it to the board, to.
I have a comment on this. Thank you for the explanation, Jake. CSWC is a low cost. As you said, CWEA is an individual one. The CASA is a high fee for annual membership. And what you shared was that we really are not involved in the wastewater here.
Well, we are, but a lot of what they do is focused on treatment and discharge and those that's where a lot of the issues
We
lie.
outsource.
Yes.
And so I would suggest that we consider the SCWC, but with the upcoming April 9th Budget and Finance and CIP meeting, I think that would be time to look at this, because the membership is not just it, it's the cost of going and all that. Right now, in my view, I think we need to wait on the one for 8,655 until we look at our budget and see where we are, because you mentioned we historically have always been active with Aqua and CSDA. And that is a cost for us to attend those conferences as well. So that's my input.
I agree.
So I move,
I think too, I'll say
go
this.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I
Okay, go
shouldn't-
ahead, Jake.
I think the thought was too, if we wanted to, you know, maybe we have the budget workshops before we add anything
Okay,
to these.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's nothing pressing.
No,
Yeah.
and that was gonna, you know, thinking through this, I mean, we were thinking budgeting for it for next year if we were gonna add anything, so. So I think it's appropriate, and maybe we don't need to take any action today, but let's get through the budget workshop and we'll budget appropriately if we wanna add some of these and then. One or more and go from there, so.
I think that would be sound
Yeah.
decision. Because I know Rick has mentioned of the reserves, and that is a concern. So I think right now, we need to look at the big picture here and then decide on fees that could actually increase and decrease our reserves.
And certainly, I mean, looking big picture, you know, it's a lot of times sometimes these are very valuable, right? Both education wise. Opportunities for, you know, connecting with those that are tied to grant funding and things like that, but yeah, I think it's wise to pause, yeah.
Okay. Do we actually have to have a motion to table this?
No action, we'll
No action,
talk about it in the budget.
okay. Informational items, operations report. Engineering report, administrative services report, and finance report.
So yeah, it's all attached, I mean. Nothing, I don't think we have anything highlights in there.
All the reports were very
Report.
solid.
Reports and comments. Legal counsel's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did a written report. I'll give a few highlights, an update on 3 recent appellate court decisions involving the Public Records Act. The first case upheld a longstanding proposition that, you know, when you're dealing with redacting documents pursuant to a statutory exemption under the Public Records Act, the courts will broadly construe the exception in favor of the people's right of access. But interestingly, you know, all the court ordered disclosure in this case, it suggested that under the facts, the records may have actually been exempt from disclosure under the catch-all provision, which allows water districts to withhold documents where the interest in withholding the information outweighs the public interest in disclosure. Then the second case is helpful to water districts because it confirms that a plaintiff cannot use Public Records Act litigation to obtain the very record that issue in the Public Records Act request. Nor can it use the Public Records Act litigation to obtain a record that wouldn't otherwise be accessible under the Public Records Act. And the court relied on, you know, since water districts, you know, when responding to a Public Records Act request, they're just sort of, you know, documents already have, you know, you're not under a duty to create any sort of new record. And there's been a number of, you know, litigation. It seems to be an increasing trend where a lot of people are trying to use actual litigation to kind of go around the Public Records Act and then use, once they're in litigation, they'll use discovery, like, you know, interrogatories or, you know, document requests, subpoenas, that sort of a thing to try and get the records, even though they were, you know, subject to an exemption. So the court, this case is very helpful for agencies to prevent plaintiffs from using that practice. And then the last case basically supports that the Public Records Act request does not impose a duty on water districts to preserve potentially responsive records that are otherwise subject to the district's records retention policy and the administrative code. Here's someone filed litigation and they were basically saying, well, this could take years through the appeals. So you know, all these records have to be retained, you know, for years, you know, going forward. And the court said, no, it's the Public Records Act request. It's the Public Records Act, not a records retention statute. So basically, you know, shut down that argument for the plaintiff in that case. So it's helpful. So, you know, basically irrespective of litigation, you know, we can stand strong on our admin code and our record retention policy, which, you know, helps provide a lot of efficiency and cost savings to the districts. That completes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you.
General Manager's report.
Yeah, so a few things, update you on all the ongoings with, attachment and San Diego County Water Authority. We are continuing with the development of the operations plan, which was a condition in the settlement agreement. We actually got, the portion of the operations plan that covers aqueduct number 2. So that's 2 of our connections on the west side, connections 8 and 9. And I think we're about done with that one. We had a few comments that went back to the County Water Authority, but I think we're getting close to that being complete. We're still working on, we did get initial draft on the other side on Aqueduct 1, and made some comments there, both Fallbrook and Rainbow. We actually have a joint facility on that one. Both of our connections are in the same vault, basically. So we're working through that too. There wasn't any major hurdles on that one either. I think we're probably getting pretty close on that. That wraps up the majority of that operations plan. It's got kind of all the elements built in that were required. So I think probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, that'll really be taken care of. The one thing that's going to take a little bit more time is Metropolitan. We had our first kind of joint call with Metropolitan and the County Water Authority, Fallbrook and Rainbow, Eastern, and they've got to amend the service agreement. So MWD has a kind of a service agreement for each of these connections. It's in essence a checklist of facilities and making sure everything meets their standards and that kind of thing. But there's some language that goes along with it too, that just because it's a little bit of a unique situation where we're actually transferring facilities and then facilities are going to transfer to Met, where they're just, it's a little more complex than just the normal, hey, you want a new connection, here it is. And so we actually started, so we had the first meeting, we've got another meeting set up in May, middle of May, to continue those discussions. And then from there, I think it's going to be bi-weekly. We're going to have meetings until it's done. So Fallbrook's kind of in a little bit more of a rush to get done than we are. They want to use that connection, I think, before the summertime comes. And so that's kind of the big push, but it helps us because it just gets it done. We're going to do it jointly and it gets it done. So Met's already actually sent over all the paperwork for us to kind of complete to get that process going. But that's kind of what's going on with those, with the operation plan and then those operating agreements with Met. As far as the other part of it, the pump stations, that's ongoing. Chad and his team have been reviewing submittals. The pump stations are en route, actually. The first delivery is actually coming Friday.
This Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of loose parts and a building roof and, but over the next, say 2 months, I
Yes.
think they're going to be shipping all of the equipment. So we'll be storing that for a time until it's ready for the contractor to take it, but it'll be ready for them. It'll be ready for them when they're ready for it. So,
Yes.
so that's the good news that, we're not going to be, I don't think we're going to be holding them up with not having the equipment ready. So, so that's, and we're working with the contractor right now on their schedule, pushing hard to try to get it, get them going. They haven't mobilized to the sites yet, but we anticipate that's going to happen soon. Again, they've been going through kind of the submittal process and getting all the paperwork kind of stuff done ahead of time. So I know Chad and his team are working hard on that. The other thing that's going on, it's not really related to that, but continued discussions on the metropolitan rates. There was another workshop today, Met's 4th workshop. They've got a slew of alternatives. They came out with the original proposal, and I think we talked about this. It was a 21% increase over 2 years, so 13 and an 8, probably a little over 21 because it's compounding. And it was even worse on the treated water. It was heavy on the treated water side. So pretty impactful. They've been over the last 3 workshops developing sets of alternatives. The main one, and this is something that I know Eastern and a lot of the member agencies are pushing for, is to put a lot of the additional revenue need onto the property tax through the Metropolitan has an ad valorem tax that can cover costs associated with the state water project. And so, there's been a big push to, and really it moves more revenue from Met onto the fixed side. You know, it's gonna be on a property tax bill, as opposed to, sales, right? That where it's, you know, related to their sales. And so, I think, seems like it would benefit Met in a lot of ways. It would be good for us because it lowers the, you know, the impact to that treated water rate. So I've been advocating for that. It's still a little unclear on, where everybody stands on it. Some have kind of come out with a position and some haven't. And so, so we'll see. And the County Water Authority is going to talk about it on Thursday. Now I've been through now a couple of their presentations on, impacts to them. They're starting to look at their rate impacts. And so wanted to let you know kind of what that breakdown looks like. They're basing it off, the original Met proposal, that it would be about that alone would be about a 6%, rate increase that they would have to pass through, the County Water Authority. Then there's another 4% there that's related to detachment. That's the County Water Authority's number, 6% on the Met, 4% on detachment, and I think there was another 3% on, just some of their, cost inflation things. So, and that doesn't deal with some of their issues too, as far as, they've got some issues with reserve levels that are below minimums and, debt coverage that is, getting eerily close to, you know, under that 1.5. So they're concerned about, credit downgrades and things like that would significantly impact them. So it's gonna be a healthy discussion, I think. You know, the one question that I've asked now on a couple of, different meetings was just, you know, if they do go with the ad valorem tax, how does that impact San Diego? Because they do have a different supply mix than many of us, right? But it is a benefit to them too. So, we'll see where that goes. But we are watching the Met the Met dialogue very closely. They're planning April 9th-ish or 6th, early April, to actually adopt the rates. So I think they're trying to narrow it down to like 3 options and then the board. So we'll know soon enough. Yeah, I think it's the 9th, right? It's the same day as our workshop.
And so the lowest rate that's in the active discussions for treated water would be a 9% increase year one and a 6% increase. Yeah, they're compared to 17% and 8%, which was the original proposal.
Yeah.
So that's as low as any of the options that they're looking at, which is the one we're advocating for.
Right. So, which is a big jump though. It's taking 8% out of the treated water rate and putting it on the tax roll. So there's a lot of eyes on that whole discussion right now. And those would all become effective, January 1st of 2025. We are working on the budget preparations in advance of the April 9th meeting. I know all staff is updating their budgets for next fiscal year. And so everybody's working hard on that. I know Rick's crunching the rate model and, but that's kind of been a big activity, here for each department. So we're, prepping for the 9th and then again in May to kind of bring you the results of all that. Oh, one other thing I was gonna bring up, this is a requirement, actually, as we've been reviewing, the City of Oceanside agreement, our wastewater agreement. There's a provision in the back of it that says every 5 years, it requires a review. And so, me and Rick actually met with, their staff, with their utilities director and staff that are, involved in that agreement. And we kind of reviewed the whole thing, but a couple of changes we're looking at, I think I mentioned this the last time, was the reserve account. So there's a requirement for a reserve account. And we propose to basically move that into something that would draw interest, right? That we could move it into an account that actually draws interest. And they agreed that that would be acceptable. And then the other thing was with the improvements going on, related to a development out on North River, there's gonna be some, facility changes. They're gonna extend the pipeline kind of towards us. And so that agreement's very specific about, the, facilities on, Rainbow's facilities and Stretch 1 and Stretch 2 and, or Reach, I think it's Reach 1, Reach 2. And so, once that occurs, I think we're gonna modify, we'll do an amendment to that agreement to kind of clean up both of those items. But other than that, we reviewed the agreement and it's still intact. We're not really anywhere near our capacity yet. We're, still, I think we're a little under 1 MGD and we have 1.5 MGD of capacity. So, and kind of some of the other things we've been working on as far as that agreement goes. But as far as the agreement, everything looks fine. And so there's a requirement that I report that to you every 5 years, and it's been 5 years, so.
I'm sure that's in the minutes.
The only other thing, and this is, it's a long shot. But, our Senator Butler, who actually took, Feinstein's seat, was taking requests for, earmarks, appropriations requests from, special districts. And so we put in an appropriations request, well, I won't even go into that, but I put in for some of our sewer projects, both on the, capacity limit projects, and then also sewer linings and things like that. Kind of try to keep it general, but things that are actually in our CIP and plan. I asked for $4 million. That might be too much. But we've actually got a call tomorrow with her office to talk about the project, and we'll see. Like I said, I think it's probably a bit of a long shot, but yeah.
Hey, nothing ventured,
Yeah.
nothing gained.
That's right.
true.
So we'll keep you updated. That's
Yeah, that's exciting.
That's
something
very
that's going on.
exciting.
And I think that's all I had. Good. No questions.
San Diego County Water Authority report. Did you cover
I think I got you there.
that? CSDA,
I wanted the board to know that I attended the Alliance Executive Council on Friday, March 1st, to represent the CSDA Finance Court Board. And that is a board or alliance that works with CSDA Finance Board, and SDRMA. And their next meeting is August 1st.
okay. LAFCO,
Not too much. They had a meeting, they did have a meeting in March, and they appointed new chair and vice chair. So Stephen Whitburn is now the chair of LAFCO. He was the vice chair last year from the city of San Diego. And Barry Willis is the vice chair. Actually had lunch with him yesterday. But so he's the vice chair for this year. Other than that, I mean, they gave an update on some of the MSRs that they're doing. The County Water Authority that one's moving forward. I heard it's gonna extend a little bit, or it's gonna extend beyond what they were talking about June, having a draft, but I heard that's gonna be, kind of months behind. So they're just diving into that. Dr. Hanneman, I guess, is involved in that one.
Fire that guy.
So anyways, that's those, there wasn't a whole lot else on the LAFCO agenda, but. And no meeting again until May, so I won't have a report next month.
oh, really? We're not meeting in April.
Yeah.
Santa Margarita Rivershed Water Masters Steering Committee meets in April. It's been a meeting since January.
Aqua, there is the conference. It's in May. I believe it's the 7th through the 9th, I think it is. And it'll be in Sacramento. And so I'm looking forward to that.
I have something as the Aqua alternate. Region 10 they have asked several of us to meet together as a committee to plan something for a Region 10 event. So I've been honored to be asked to be on that. And we have a meeting this Thursday. Anyone who would like to attend It's from 3 to 4. It's a Zoom meeting.
Committees, workshops, seminars and training.
We have item 12? Oh, no, not yet. Sorry, I jumped. Okay.
We apparently don't have any requests or summary or activity. Please, has everybody filed their 700 report?
We just have one more that we're working on this afternoon.
Okay. Just reminder that April 1st is the deadline, isn't
For a
it?
second, thank you.
Yeah. Board member comments and requests to attend upcoming meetings, conferences and seminars.
We did have a couple of requests on this one. The Southern California Water Coalition is meeting in Temecula in April. I don't remember the exact date. April 19th. Okay, yeah, it's in the staff report, right? And I know Director Dale and Director Johnson expressed interest, and I was going to attend as well. And then I think Director Johnson, you had the legislative days.
CSDA Legislative Days. It is an opportunity for board members to become aware of what is occurring in Sacramento. And so I am requesting to attend, as well as any other member of the board that would like to attend. It is a Tuesday and Wednesday.
I'd like to go to that.
I think we will learn a lot.
Yeah, and you had a direct invite from, it's through the CSA Corp, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What days is it?
May 21st, 22nd?
I may be interested. Maybe I'll just request approval and can decide
Okay.
later.
But I am requesting to attend. Is a 2-night stay because we fly up on Monday and the legislative events start early on Tuesday morning, goes all through Tuesday, and then it ends Wednesday approximately at noon. And they do have trips to go to the Capitol and to meet with our legislative elected officers. So I think it's an opportunity just to become more aware of that part of the lawmaking and also to meet our representatives.
I would say on that though, I've gone many, many years, and I think it was just one time we got to see our record. Typically you meet their age, so.
I don't know, it says, so if it's okay, I would like to attend that.
Yeah, they're good.
Doesn't hurt you to meet the age.
You know,
Yeah,
they're
they said the age
using,
is
they're using
more
more,
important.
they're more knowledgeable on many of the issues.
Okay, any other requests? We don't need to approve.
I think it does, yeah, it needs an approval.
I move that we approve Director Mack and Director Dale's request to attend CSDA legislative days. And your stuff is covered.
Jonathan?
No, I would need to have board approval for that.
You do? I thought we'd already approved that at the last meeting.
No.
Got an invite.
So, and Director Johnson's
Thank you.
approval as well. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Did we get a second on that? Was there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. May I clarify that that also includes the Southern California Water Coalition luncheon?
Yes.
Thank
Moved by Director Hamel, seconded by Director Mack. For the record.
you.
List of suggested agenda items for the next regular board meeting. Looks like we're carrying over 9A and 9E.
Well, 9E will be, well, we'll take it will come back at some point after the budget discussion, yes.
Okay.
But 9A, yes.
Any other items?
I guess it depends on what happens
Reminder
April
that,
9th.
With a reminder, we have a joint budget and finance and engineering, meeting April 9th.
Correct.
Budget and finance, not the engineering operating.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
budget and finance, okay. So a reminder, there's a special board meeting on April 9th at 1:00.
Correct.
Okay. Then we're adjourned.
Wow.
Less than an hour. Less than an hour.
Boy, that's the way.